Welcome to another episode of News Review on Unilag TV. I am Adebola Adediba. On 6 September, Oshunlade Alaba, a graduate of Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, LAUTECH in Ogbomoso, returned his school certificate and demanded a refund of the fees he paid because he has been unable to get a job after graduation. According to him, he feels bad that his parents have been catering for his needs, and so he feels returning his certificate and asking for a refund would make life better. And by the way, an update to that story is that the alumni of the school has contributed a sum of 500,000 to Oshunlade Alaba. Now, away from that, how many other graduates are there that are jobless whom we do not even know about? Oshunlade is one in thousands or even millions. Today, we're discussing employability after graduation, and we'll be speaking to psychologists who will tell us the psychological impact of joblessness and how to cope with joblessness. Also, we'll be talking to a core member on the labor market and a human resource practitioner who will tell us how employable these graduates are. I'll see you after the break. Welcome back. It's still a news review on Unilag TV. Remember to follow us across all our social media platforms at Unilag on TV. Joining me now is Dr. Uzo Israel, a clinical psychologist and a senior lecturer from the University of Lagos. Welcome, Dr. Uzo.
Thank you.
What's your overall impression about the graduate who tried to return his school certificate? What do you make of this?
Well, the news has been trending for some
Right.
time, and it kind of shows the environment and the society in which we are. Back in the days, if you had a higher education, it was automatic that you were going to get a job. But what we see now is the fact that people get a diploma, people get a degree, and they are not even sure if they'll be able to put food on their table.
Right.
And this goes to say a lot about our environment. It goes to say a lot about the economy under which we operate. It also goes to show a lot about we as individuals, how we're adapting to westernization, because it's all, tied to westernization.
Right. What could likely be the psychological impact of joblessness on a graduate, for instance?
There are a lot of things. One thing we need to bear in mind is that education is not only for employment, it is also for enlightenment, and it is also for empowerment. The higher your educational qualification, the wider your educational attainment, then the broader the perspectives you have, and the greater your chances of getting a job should be. However, we have tied down our education and our degrees to being employed rather than generating employment. They should go together.
Right.
Because everybody cannot be an employee and everybody will not be an employer, but there has to be a balance. The emphasis has been more on being an employee rather than even being an employer.
But how about cases whereby you don't even have the startup funds, to be an employer of labor? What happens in such a case?
Yes, part of what we lack as a society is the fact that there's no social welfare in our system. The government policies need to take that aspect into consideration. In the Western world, I'm talking about the US, the UK, when you are unemployed, they give you what they call food stamps. You know, you're on social security, you earn something, you get something. Whatever it is you get is meant to put food on your table and clothes on your back. So because we don't have that, what we have in Nigeria is where everybody, you are your own government, you provide your water, you provide your electricity, you provide your job, you provide everything you need. And because of that failure, we are having this kind of problems on our hands.
Right. Okay, now let's look at our graduates. Let's talk about, from a psychological point of view, how can they cope or stay in check mentally, even in the face of joblessness?
Yeah, this is what we call educated unemployment, where somebody is educated, but he cannot find a job over time. Now, apart from the fact that the unemployed person loses income because he's not earning, he also has what we call loss of self-esteem, loss of self-worth, you know, and then he feels lonely, he feels isolated. People that ordinarily should be respecting him, you know, parents who sent him to school, he's now having to fall back on them. So every day he feels, you know, his self-worth keeps decreasing on a daily basis. And then he's lonely because he can go to visit friends in their offices, they don't have time for him, they can't hang out the way they used to. So you find that he's isolated, and then this leads to feelings of anxiety, feelings of depression, and his mental health is affected. And then mental health is one area in Nigeria that we are not paying adequate attention to.
Right.
On record, I can tell you that to be a clinical psychologist in the Western world, you will get a medical degree faster than you get accreditation to be a clinical psychologist, because that is where they value the talking cure, as we call it, that we give.
Okay.
But around us, people are more inclined to take tablets. You know, you feel sick, you go to the hospital, give you tablets, and then you want to be okay.
Okay, so in closing, I'd like you to give us like 5 tips that graduates can make do with in terms of coping. Say, for instance, they don't have a job yet. What can they do with their time to stay in check mentally?
Ab initio, every young person getting into the university should have at the back of his mind that he's not going to university to come out and get employed. That is one of the first things, and I'm happy that recently I looked through the curriculum in the secondary schools. They now have what you call vocational subjects that every student is made to take, whether it be photography, some of those skills. So one needs to, number one, every occupation has a skill set. So apart from the fact that you are studying, you should have a skill set that is tied to, you know, whatever occupation or discipline you are studying. Then there should be what we call financial startups. There are several programs the government has put in place, but there's been no sustainability. For example, the School to Learn program, you know, that was in the 80s and 90s. We don't hear of them anymore, where young graduates are encouraged to go into farming. Now, we don't hear of such things. And then we also have, in school, for example, you study the GST. There you are taught some courses on entrepreneurship. Some students take that course. Rather than, you know, imbibe what is being taught, they just take it to pass the exam and go. But I tell you that there's a lot to be learned from that. Then again, social support. We cannot downplay the impact of that. Social support. Parents, these days we have to change our minds about our expectations from our children. The children need social support at whatever level. They need it. So because some of the time people want to meet up. Because you've gone to university, everybody thinks you should come out and train others. And that puts a lot of pressure on young people. And then employers of labor, they talk about work experience. You're a fresh graduate. Where are you going to get that work experience from? Unless every university course now has to have like 1 year internship like they do in engineering. So if you're studying philosophy, you go for 1 year. I don't know where you go for that, you know. At least even in psychology, we have internships too. People go to the psychiatric hospitals and clinics for internship, but people need to develop a skill set, not just reading the theory and passing the exams, but having a skill to fall back on when things are not happening the way you expect. So everybody should always have a plan A and a plan B. So this is where I want to work. But in the interim, these are the things I can do with my hands. We know men have become bakers and they've done well. Nothing stops somebody from taking to that. There are people who sew clothes, you know. Some of those vocations are things, some didn't plan it. I have a friend who is a medical doctor. She does home decor and she does a fantastic job. Sewing curtains and bed sheets and what have you.
All right, Dr. Uzo Emmanuel, clinical psychologist. Thank you very much for your time on the program.
Thank you.
All right, so we're taking also the perspective of a student on this matter right after this break. Don't go away. Welcome back. We're talking about employability after graduation, and I have here with me Abiodun Moturayo Precious, a graduate of Theatre Arts from the University of Lagos. Abiodun, glad to have you here.
Thank you, Ma.
So you saw the whole clip about your fellow graduates trying to return his certificate. What do you make of all of this?
I feel like it's justified. He has learned something. He has been to a university. He learns it for like 4 or 5 years. After graduation, his certificate is not bringing anything good to him. So
you feel it's justified?
Yes, it's justified.
Okay, have you been in search of a job recently?
Yes.
Tell me, how has it been in the labor market? Share your experience with us in terms of searching for a job.
First, you have to know somebody to know somebody. And then if you don't know somebody, you have to join LinkedIn. You have to join some kind of apps like that where they post update on jobs. And then when you now search for this job, like when you now particularly get notification of a job that suits you, they start asking for like 5 years experience, 3 years experience and everything. But if you have to employ me first for me to gather that experience.
So they ask for lots of years of experience,
Yes.
which you do not have, being a graduate.
I'm a fresh graduate.
Okay, so what would you recommend for employers of labor going forward? How best should they treat, incoming workers, graduates searching for jobs?
I feel like there should be more internships. Like try to put in more programs out there for fresh graduates to apply for, learn things about your firm, and then when they are done with that internship, it is either you don't employ them or you employ them. At least they've gathered experience through that internship.
Okay.
And they can proceed to your firm.
Thank you very much for your time. Abiodun Moturayo, graduate of Theatre Arts from the University of Lagos. Okay, to cap it all up, we would like to take a professional insight from a human resource angle after the break. Welcome back. We just spoke with the students, and now we'd like to hear from the employers of labor themselves. We have Feyi-Shetan Akinbile, who is a HR practitioner with over 2.5 years decades of experience. He's also a senior partner with Fact Limited. Feyi-Shetan, glad to have you join us.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
I'm
now
glad
let's
to be
attempt to... I can hear you, Feyi-Shetan, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you very clearly.
Okay, now let's attempt to look at this situation from a HR perspective. You are into HR, you recruit on a daily basis. Could you let us into your world as to factors that makes candidates unsuccessful when applying for a job?
Okay, I'll start by saying that the underlying story of the student that returned his certificate and eventually got 500,000 naira is quite unfortunate. But truth is, 500,000 naira does not solve this problem. Let me start by saying that. Now, coming to the issue of employability of graduates is a factor. It's a multi-headed factor. The first one I always say is the candidate's preparation. Preparation from when you are in school through post your graduation and then to the time when you get the opportunity to sit in front of an interviewer. I'll say this and I'll say it very clearly. Every structured job in Nigeria has an entry-level age. These days, the entry-level age is coming lower. In our days, when we came into paid employment over 30 years ago, it was at about 27 maximum. But now it's dropping to about 24. And I'm sure it's going to drop even lower than that. Okay, so that's the first point. By the time you're getting too old for an entry-level job, the likelihood that you will get opportunities for interview becomes slim. I will start from there. Then your graduating grade, okay? We all have equal opportunities when we start out from our 100 level or ND1, as the case may be, to come out with either a first class or a distinction, either in OND or your BSc eventually. Now, if you come out with a poor grade, it further limits your chances, as it were, okay, to get a good job. Now, having said all of that, which is your preparatory stage, by the time you come out of school and you want to apply for employment, you need to make up your mind. What sectors do you think your natural skills and the skills you have learned overall in school and all that will best fit in? Okay, if I read business admin, I can't apply for a technical job like an engineering job, even though it can be the other way around. An engineering student can apply for an administrative job and all that. So best fit for best industry and then for best job is important for us to know.
Right.
You will apply for the job that you most qualify for. That's where you start from.
CV, what's your impression about employers of labor who demand for, say, 5-6 years experience from fresh graduates?
They cannot demand that from fresh graduates because where's the graduate going to get it from? Okay, so we have what we call the greenhorns, the fresh graduates who have less than 1 year post NYSC experience. They are greenhorns. What you're looking for in those candidates, basically trainability, basic intelligence. Can they read? Can they write? Can they take instructions? Do they understand simple instructions? Can they respond accurately to it? This is what you're looking at. Basic aptitude, and that's why you write aptitude test. Nobody's going to ask for 4, 5, 6, 7 years experience from somebody who doesn't have it. Okay, but what we have, I'm talking practically, is fresh graduates applying for jobs that they don't fit into. I throw in a job opening for a 5, 6, 7 year experienced person because I need that experience, those skills sets. I need it for the job. But I find a lot of undergraduates applying for the job. They say they want to get experience. No, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't. No employer will ask fresh graduates to come with 4 or 5 experience where he doesn't have it.
Right. Because you often hear them complaining that the company is demanding for certain years experience. But away from that, I want you to let us, into your world in terms of the HR perspective. What would be the recommendations to these graduates such that they become more employable to all of these companies or organizations?
Okay, so first of all, apply for the jobs that you perfectly fit. Okay, I threw some job advert recently, one for a legal officer, but a senior legal person. So it's not just any lawyer that will apply for that. Then I've thrown some adverts in and around a technical assistant to the CEO. And the job profile is provided with that advertisement. But what I find out is out of every 100 applications, I don't get 3 that qualify. People that just throw their in, whether they qualify or not, they just throw in their applications. It doesn't work that way. You apply for jobs that you qualify for. Once you apply for a job you qualify for, then you have a higher probability of being invited for that interview. And then it goes on to now say, okay, how do you package your CV, your cover letter, and all those things? They must speak to the job. If they do not speak to the job, the likelihood that you will be invited for an interview is slim. It's slim.
Right.
And then you have to prepare also. If you're an entry-level person, the likelihood that you will write an aptitude or a psychometric test or a proficiency test is very high. So you must prepare for that test and you must pass it before you come invited for interview.
Yes. I'd like you to speak a little more in terms of writing your CV such that it's well tailored to the job you're applying for. Could you shed more light on that?
Okay, so for me, I've seen all kinds of formats of CV. It's not about the formats, okay? It's about much more about the content of the CV, okay? I looked at the CV today and there was no address. The person just wrote something, Ikoyi, Lagos. That's not an address. However, for fresh graduates, what employers want to see is not about the format, it's about the content, like I said. Which school did you attend? What course did you study? What grade did you graduate with? So people write BSc, second class. Is it upper? Is it lower? You don't write it. Some people write BSc. Whether it's a third class, whether it's a second class, whether it's a first class, I don't know. You write HND, whether it's upper credit, lower credit, or pass, I do not know. If you write just BSc without providing the class of degree, it's not likely I will invite you. And then if you have a little experience, please show it. For instance, if while you were in school, you did some internship or some voluntary work, show it and show the skills that you acquired in those places. Because I know I'm talking to students maybe who are in their 300 or 400 level, they should understand that what they need to show immediately in their CV, which is not going to be more than 1 page anyway, is the qualification they have and from what institution. You can have a simple paragraph that speaks to your personality, the kind of skills and competencies you have, okay? Then your cover letter, which you attach to the CV, should speak to the profile of the job. And it must show that you have competencies for the job that you are applying for.
Right. Feyisetan Akinbile, HR practitioner, senior partner with Facts Limited. Thank you for joining us. And that's our show for today. Many thanks for watching. Do follow us across all our social media platforms at Unilag on TV. I am Adebola Adedugba. Bye for now.